Now let's take a look at his abilities. Number 1. His passive. Carnivore. Whenever Cho'gath kills a unit, he recovers health and mana. The values restored increased with Cho'gath's level. Q. Rupture. Ruptures the ground at target location, popping enemy units into the air, dealing damage and slowing them. W. Feral Scream. Cho'gath unleashes a terrible scream at enemies in a cone, dealing magic damage and silencing the enemies for a few seconds. E. Vorpal Spikes. Cho'gath attacks and releases deadly spikes, dealing damage and slowing all enemy units in front of him. R. Feast. Devours an enemy unit, dealing a high amount of true damage. If the target is killed, Cho'gath grows, gaining maximum health. Now let's talk about his runes. Now, the runes for Cho'gath are pretty standard for the most part, without getting changed through patches. You always want to go for Resolve Tree and take Grasp of the Undying as your keystone. And for the first branch of the Resolve Tree, you want to take Demolish, followed by Conditioning on the second branch, and finally going for Overgrowth on the last branch. And for the secondary tree, Precision Tree serves the best by going Triumph into Legend Tenacity. And for flexes, you take 1 flex of attack speed and 2 flexes of armor if the enemy has 2 or more AD carries, and 2 flexes of magic resist if the enemy has 2 or more AP carries. As for his itemization, depends heavily on the situation and matchup. Casually, you have 2 styles of building. Number 1, Frontline and Isolation build. And for that you go Chem Tank as core item. Then depending against AD, you go for Plated Steel Caps, Thornmail, and that's for the core items. And from there, you have to go for Frozen Heart, then Gargoyle, and finally Warmog's Armor. But against AP, you want to go for Mercury Treads, Force of Nature, Gargoyles, Warmog into Spirit Visage. Number 2, Scaling Tank. And basically, the only difference here is that you want to go for Frostfire Gauntlet as core item. Now let's talk about his playstyle. Casually, as Cho'gath early game, you want to play safe, farm and scale and make sure to punish the enemy for mispositioning, and deny him CS as much as possible. And then you have 2 major points in the game. 1, level 6, and at that point you want to utilize using your ultimate to get stacks and scale as fast as possible, and make sure that you always use your ultimate when it's ready to gain a stack. Number 2, completing your core item. Now depending on the playstyle you're going for, you mainly want to either focus around your teammates and offer support with Chem Tank, or simply dominate the lane and scale using Frostfire Gauntlet. For the matchups, Cho'gath is strong against Jace, Jax, Gragas, and Vladimir, and he's weak against Kayle, Fiora, Kled, and Akshan. Well, that's pretty much it for Cho'gath. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and be sure to tune in where we'll be diving more and more in depth in the next champions. Whitebeard out.